Hello there. Welcome to the Aligned Life podcast. Hope you're doing amazing today. I'm recording this episode a little early, so my voice is still scratchy, but I wanted to share this episode while I have some quiet in my house. And today is the day that I'm going to do it. So I actually had a few people over the last couple months give suggestions of this topic for the podcast. Now, this isn't something that I would maybe normally talk about, but as a mom of three girls who are 3 years apart, I do feel like I have some things that I can share that's worked well, things that haven't worked well as well. In the parenting journey. So I'm going to share some thoughts with you. I am not claiming to be a parenting expert. These are just real life thoughts, tips, suggestions for you from a mom, and try them out for yourself, see what works well and see what doesn't. And I would also give you that advice for anything in your life. Anytime you're getting advice from someone, you're listening to a podcast, reading a book, try it out and know that it's okay if it doesn't work well for you. It's okay if you don't like it. You don't have to listen to everything that people say. And you don't have to get offended by people saying things that don't align with your belief systems. You can just let it be, let it go, move on. And you will have more peace in your life, which I think we're all after. So like I said, I'm a mom of three girls. They are currently 9, 8, and 6. When my youngest was born, my oldest had just turned 3, like 2 months before that. So we did have our girls very close together. It was kind of chaos in those early years, but I am really grateful for the relationship that they have with each other now. And what I also want to share on that note is I think part of it is nature and part of it is nurture. So with parenting, remember that as well. Part of it is nature and part of it is nurture. And you can, try to do everything right, and kids are still going to have their own personality and their own ideas. And this is my worldview, is that we choose our parents. And also, it goes both ways. Like, our parents also need us to help them with their correction. So your children chose you to have as parents because they are coming to the world with their own corrections that their soul is desiring to work on in this lifetime. So you are going to be the perfect parents that will help them with those soul corrections as they get older. And also think about that with your own parents. So you chose your parents and they need you just as much as you need them to help them with their corrections. So why I'm sharing this with you is because the early part of my motherhood journey, maybe you know this, maybe you are new to the podcast, but especially with my first two daughters were 16 months apart, and my husband is shift worker, so he does night shifts, and those early years were extremely hard for me. I was very anxious on his night shifts. I always felt scared. I always felt like I couldn't handle it. Like just, for lack of a better phrase, like shit would hit the fan, and I just felt a little bit like out of control. And I wouldn't even describe myself as a control freak or anything like that, but those early years felt really hard. And my middle daughter, she, from like 7 months to 13 months, I think it was, had ear infection after ear infection. She had 2 sets of tubes in her ears starting at 11 months and can't remember when she got the second set. I think when she was almost 2. She had her adenoids removed and she had her tonsils removed. And I'm not, I this is a podcast episode for a different time, but I would probably wish I could have done things differently back then. But you don't know what you don't know. And I really felt like I was just kind of surviving in those years. It was, she wasn't sleeping well. And I had like another toddler at that time who was still very little, and things just felt really crazy. So I felt very reactive in those years. Not that I was very reactive in those years. And why I'm sharing that is I also think that was part of, we're always co-creating with each other. So part of that was what I really needed to go through, I think, to get me to where I am now and beyond, right? I think that I learned so much going through those hard years about myself, mindset, the way that the world works. On a spiritual level, I learned a lot about what not to do through doing that. Lots of failure in those years. And it is really true what they say, that sometimes, you go through painful things because that is sometimes the path that you need to actually, like we'll say, wake up and see things in the way that you need to see them. Okay. So if you are in a struggling phase in your parenting journey, I would say I've been there. I feel for you. It is really hard. But I think that when we can try to look at it from a different perspective, we will gain a lot of insight and lessons for ourselves in our life that way. So I also, say that because I think my middle daughter, her name is Lincoln, I think she, chose me to help her with her things. And also from my studying and my, I'm a hypnotherapist. And when my youngest daughter, Mila, was 2, I think it was 2 or 3, I did my hypnosis certification. And then shortly after that, did my regression certification in hypnosis. And in that time, and I had learned about this a lot on my own, but especially in that time, I learned about the subconscious mind and that it develops from the ages of 0, like when we were in our mother's womb, to around 7 or 8. And I felt a lot of guilt during that time learning these things because I was like, oh, I was not the mom that I needed to be. And I was very reactive during those times. And I probably have probably put so many unhelpful belief systems into my kids. And I felt like a lot of guilt. So like when I say that I'm no parenting expert, I mean that. I'm not a parenting expert, but I do have this knowledge that I have that I want to share with you to help you, because I know that a lot of you listening are moms and maybe going through these things, and hopefully that you can learn from me and maybe have less mistakes than I did in some of those things. So, and then also, maybe your kids are older and you having the same feelings that I'm sharing with you about, like feeling kind of maybe regretful or guilty that you wish you could have been better, wish you could have been less reactive. Our children chose us, right? So they came here to learn the lessons that sometimes we're putting on them. But also, you are only doing the best that you can. You are always doing the best that you can in those circumstances. And, there's times where I think to myself, oh, I wish I could have been better. I wish I would have known that. It's okay. Nobody is perfect. And now and so now you can do better, hopefully, right? So we'll leave that where it's at, and then we'll continue. So some things that I will say that I am really proud of and that I am thankful that I did it this way. The first thing is through the eating, the nutrition that I um, knew for myself. I went vegetarian when I was 17. I'm not saying you need to be vegetarian. I'm not even saying that that's the best thing for everyone. I know that it was a good choice for me and my family. And I feel really good being on a plant based diet. When I started out, I was very much junk food vegetarian at 17, 18 years old, up until really like my first daughter started eating solids, where I were tried to be more conscious of including more beans into our diet. I didn't grow up eating beans, so for me, I kind of felt like they were weird. I didn't. I kind of yeah, I just didn't really cook with a lot of beans in the very beginning part of my vegetarian journey. So now I'm really grateful. My oldest daughter, for example, well, all three of my girls are, I would say, fairly good eaters. We definitely have room for improvement, but overall, I've really emphasized whole food, plant-based diet for my girls. All three of them are currently eating a vegetarian diet. People always will say to me, like, what will you do if your children want to be vegetarian? Or if they don't want to be vegetarian when they're older. I have no problem with that. It's no different than me choosing to go vegetarian when I was 17, right? Your children are going to make decisions for themselves, and I will support whatever they decide to do for themselves. And currently, this is the way that I cook and we eat in my house. And I think that they're eating well and getting a good variety of foods and the vitamins and minerals that they need into their diet. And so I'm pretty happy with the way that they eat. And I think that especially beans are such a powerhouse food because of the protein and the fiber, which is so important. And a lot of people don't get enough fiber in their diet. And I think that beans are just where it's at. So I'm really happy that they don't have an aversion to beans, and that I really try to promote and teach them, like when we're eating and having snacks or whatever. I really try to talk to them about the importance of eating well and how good it feels in our bodies. And I'll make like lots of comments like, "Oh, I love eating well. I love being healthy. Isn't it so nice to feel good and to feed your body healthy, whole food?" And I tell them often, like, whole food is what your body needs, and sugary foods or processed foods, they kind of trick your brain into thinking that they're really important. And so, yes, I know that they taste good, but they're not really great for you. And so it's okay to have them once in a while, but you don't want to eat too much of them, because you can get a headache, you can get a tummy ache, you can, it's taking up room for in your body for the other things that are healthy for you. So I really try to talk to them about that. And like I told you, their ages, they're 9, 8, and 6. And so these are the conversations that I try to have with them on a regular basis. It's not like every single day I'm saying these things with them. Like I try not to make it like a thing too much, but so like I'll pack them snacks in their lunch. It's not like I'm like I maybe could be more I'll say intense on some of those things, but I try to find that balance, because they'll come home and they'll say like, so and so, with this in their lunch or whatever, and I just say, that's okay. Everyone just gets to decide what they feed their own children, and there's no judgment. This is just the way that we choose to eat. So I'm trying to just take some of that, because kids can be very observant and want to talk about those things. And I just really encourage, no judgment on what other people eat. And this is just how we're eating here. And this is what mommy knows. And this is what we know. And so this is the way that we eat. And I try to just take the focus back to us and not so much on other people. So I'm really proud of myself, I will say, and I think it is important to be proud of ourselves, especially as parents, because, as I already said, there's so many things that we can like, oh, I wish I didn't do that. I wish I wouldn't have done that. And it's really easy to think and to look at the things that we think we're doing wrong, or the things that we kind of failed at, or where we were reactive in. But then we also need to balance that out and be proud of ourselves for the things that we think we're doing well at, and celebrate those things in ourselves, and take our focus there, because there's lots that you are doing a really good job at as a parent. And so celebrate and acknowledge that. So that's one thing that I'm proud of um, for my parenting journey, because um, I think the best time, sorry, my nose is so itchy. The best time to make changes is always right now. So if you have kids that are older and you're listening to this and you're thinking like, yeah, I fed them a lot of snacks when they were little, or like a lot of processed things, and I wish that I could, wish I would have done this differently and whatever, start now, because it doesn't get easier later. It's easiest always right now in this moment. So I am happy that I started that young. Like, first thing when they were little is we didn't do a lot of snacks. And I'm going to share this, and I hope you don't take this as a judgment, because I am never judging you as a parent. I know that we just sometimes need to do what we need to do, but I don't give my children, for example, like bear paws, or we don't buy cereal. We don't have goldfish crackers. You really want to start to read ingredient labels and research what those ingredients are, because some of them might shock you. What's in cereals and those types of foods, and even like crackers, for example, very harmful to your children's teeth. And I heard a dentist say that like goldfish crackers, for example, are like what's causing your kids to have cavities, because it's a food that just gets stuck in the teeth, and then it will cause cavities to form. So I don't give my kids those types of things. And don't get me wrong, it's not that they don't see that in the grocery store and ask for it. They 100% will and do. And that's the thing about being a parent, is that you have to sometimes just say no. And the more that you can stick with it and just say no without being reactive, right? This is such a theme in parenting, is not being reactive. Be like solid in your no, and then just kind of let it be done. So that we'll be in the aisles or whatever, they'll see something and they'll say, "Can we have this?" And I'll say, "No, we're not going to get that. Nope, we're not going to get that today." Whatever I say, okay? And they'll be like, "Oh, please, so and so has it, or it looks so good." And I'll say, "You know what? We're not going to get that." And then I'll just keep moving down the aisles, just keep moving. I'll say, "Come on, girls," and like they will come. So it's okay that they ask. And this could be for anything, right? It could be for screen time. It could be for whatever. Like, kids are allowed to ask. And that's okay. And then it's our job as parents to set the rules. So just because your kid asks to eat something, watch something, stay up later, do this, not do that, doesn't mean that you have to say yes or whatever. You need to have rules, and you need to have boundaries with your children, and they will get to know that, and that is healthy for them to have those boundaries. So don't don't panic if your children ask to have something. And even if you have bought them, for example, goldfish crackers in the past, and you're like, "No, I've read the ingredients, we're not going to eat those anymore," and your children are going to might push back, they might be upset about that, and that's okay. They are allowed to have their own emotions, right? This is a thing that I did struggle with in those early years, is like I took their negative emotions as a personal attack. Truly, truly. Like, I almost feel embarrassed to say that, because that was really immature of me. But those tantrums, wherever, if we were in the grocery store, just getting buckled up in the car seats, whatever it was, they would, especially my middle daughter, she would. And I took it so personally, and I made, like, lots of times my whole day would get ruined because of a crappy nap or a tantrum in the grocery store or whatever. and I wouldn't know how to let it go and just to move on. So parenting tip, learn emotional regulation, emotional management, and that comes from managing your mind. And a good thought to always have with you is negative emotion is not a personal attack. You can use that at work, you can use that with your spouse, you can use that with your children, whoever you're dealing with. And there's negative emotion going on, it's not a personal attack against you. People are allowed to feel how they feel, and you're still allowed to have boundaries, especially as a parent. It is your responsibility. So, um, so make decisions, and as you learn new information, make new decisions, and that's the way that the world works, and that's the way that we grow. And so, I could go on and on about food, but maybe we can do a whole nother podcast episode on more plant-based eating, because I haven't done that in a while on the podcast. So we'll kind of leave that. That's one thing that I think I'm really happy with, is having a lot of whole foods in their diet, and talking about their bodies, and kind of adding on that, if they get hurt or whatever, I will always tell them, like, the body heals. The body only knows how to heal. The body is always healing. And then I'll even try to talk to them about that, especially at bedtime. Don't make bedtime a punishment. Like, don't be like, you're going to bed early tonight, right? And we get reactive and say those types of things. It's Bedtime is not a punishment. Bedtime is a beautiful thing. We want to have a positive relationship with bedtime. And so, I know that that is a thing that happens sometimes, is that we'll say, like, the kids maybe are grumpy at supper time, and then you might have that urge to be like, Kate, you're going to bed early tonight. Everyone's grumpy. We're going to bed early, right? And so you are almost teaching them, in a way, in a roundabout way, that if you're in a bad mood, then you have to go to bed early, and that you're making it a negative thing. So sleep is a positive thing. I tell them, for example, when they get hurt, the body actually heals when you're sleeping. So, let's get to bed, and your body will do its work to heal while you're sleeping. You're going to wake up. You're going to feel so much better. This cut's going to be healing. It's going to be on its way to healing. And I really tell my girls a lot about how the body heals, and we don't even have to do anything. Like, I want them to have a really positive relationship with their body and with healing, because a lot of us might not have that, might not have grown up like that, or maybe you were just indifferent to it, or you never were taught one way or another. I really want my daughters to know that the body heals. The body always heals. The body only heals all the time. The body is wanting to heal and to work well, and that our body isn't against us. A lot of us as adults, I see this with other people, that we think our body is against us, and even when we get sick, we think, oh, our body's against us. No, this is your body. This is your body healing. This is your body, when you get a fever, this is your body healing, and you don't have to be worried or think that something has gone wrong. Your body always heals. When you get a cut on your hand, you don't have to do anything, and the body will just scab, and it will completely heal it, right? You don't have to do anything, and it does that. And I tell this to my girls, and I want them to really know this and learn this, so that when they're older, if there's bigger things going on, if they ever found themselves getting, sicker, God forbid, they won't, hopefully, right? But I want them to know that their body always knows how to heal. I think that's a really great thing to teach them, and to have a positive relationship with our body. And even, kind of going a little bit further down that path, for me, if you might know this about me, I move my body every single day. I wake up and I do my yoga every morning. And I also love running, and I love doing some free weights, usually around like once a week or so. And a lot of times I will do this before they're even awake. I do my yoga first thing, but they know I do yoga. They know I'm a yoga teacher. They see my mat. They know that I do that, and then they, of course, see me running and taking care of myself. And I think this is so key, and I'm very proud of this as well in my parenting ways, is that I talk to them about health. It's obviously a very huge passion of mine as a health coach and yoga instructor that I help instill healthy ways of thinking and feeling and moving into them. So I want them to know, and remember, what's the best way for a child to learn something is by watching you do it, the modeling, right? So if you want your children to be eating healthy, you need to eat healthy. If you want your children to have a daily movement routine, you can adopt a daily movement routine. And then you can be very much in integrity when you say to them, when they're 12 or whatever, and you encourage them to be moving their body, you are in complete integrity to say that to them or to encourage them to do that because you're doing it. And chances are they'll want to because they'll see, how great it makes you feel and how strong you are and how healthy you are. And they notice those things, of course. So they see me do that. They see my husband do that. And that's very much a part of our life as well, is taking care of ourselves. My husband, he built us a sauna. So they come in the sauna with us every once in a while. They see us taking care of ourselves. And that's going to be hopefully a part of their life too, growing up, is that they'll learn to appreciate their body and continue to do things to take care of their body. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about was screens. So when my first daughter was born, I made the decision, with my husband. It was probably me more so that kind of decided this and encouraged us to do this, was to have no screens. So for the first 16 months of her life, she probably barely watched a TV show, looked at a phone, or anything like that. I never used my phone to entertain her. So when we were at the grocery store, for example, and again, I want to say this, I am not judging anyone for doing this. If you do this, this isn't a personal attack towards you. This was a decision that I made, and I like the way, now that my children are this much older, I very much appreciate the decision that I made. And I will tell you, it wasn't easy. Okay. So I think that is a rule of life. Do the right thing, not the easy thing in the moment, because you're just actually going to sign up for more hard challenges later on. If you take the easy road now, you're guaranteeing yourself challenges later on. If you take the hard road now, but it's the right decision, not hard for the sake of hard, but hard because it's the right decision, you're going to end up with an easier time later on. So this is very much true for parenting and especially screens. It would have been easy when I'm at the grocery store with my two girls that were, 2 years and 8 months or whatever they were. And by the way, I wasn't quite pregnant with my third at that point, but I had, my kids were very close together. So there was a lot of times where it would have felt a lot easier to just give in and give them a phone to distract them because they were whiny or fussy or whatever. And I chose not to do that because I didn't want them to get like addicted to screens. And now I'm very grateful for that because, for example, my girls will come home and they have the best imaginations. They play very well together, from my opinion. I mean, I think that they do. There's still, of course, squabbles and fights and all of that, but they really do have great imaginations. They love playing. They always play together. They have a good relationship with each other, and they're not coming home and being asking to go on a tablet or an iPad or watch a show, really. And they do get to watch TV now, but we don't even, like, they don't have any shows that they regularly want to watch. They can watch movies. We have a movie night as a family, but they're not, I would say, addicted to screens. So when Lennon was 16 months old, that's when I had Lincoln. And I would say once Lincoln was a couple months old and started to, need to go down for a nap and have more of a routine in her sleeping, that's when I would have let Lennon start watching a show every once in a while, depending on my husband's shifts, so that I could get Lincoln down for a nap. So she kind of got that more when she was, maybe close to 2. But then when Mila came along, my third daughter, Lennon and Lincoln would play together when I was trying to put Mila down for a nap. So I wouldn't always use screens um, when Mila was needing naps, because they would play together, and so they kind of entertained each other in that way. So and same thing, like when we go on long trips, we will occasionally, like if it was, if we were driving for like to BC, for example, and it was going to be a long, long time in the car, we would bring the iPad and they would get to watch a movie during that time. But my girls, now that they're older, they love reading. They are very great readers, and they're always reading books. And that's something that I think that they do because they're not getting entertained through a screen, right? So again, no judgment, but this is a decision that I'm really proud of, and it's worked well for us. They have a really great relationship, I think, now and great imaginations because they play and they use their imaginations to build things and come up with games and all of that. So I'm grateful for that decision in parenting as well. Trying to think if there's anything else. Those were kind of like the main areas that I wanted to focus on, is really encouraging healthy eating habits, healthy movement. I guess the last thing that I'll share is around our thoughts. So of course, being, a mindset coach and hypnotherapist, is I really want to instill positive thinking, positive affirmations into my girls. So if I notice, things like I can't, or like that kind of stuff, it's not that I'm, shaming them or making them wrong for saying things like that, but I do help correct them, and I teach them about the power of I am. So again, you might not be as woo-woo or spiritual as me, but there's a book that I really love. Dr. Wayne Dyer spoke about it. If you're a Dr. Wayne Dyer fan, it's called the I Am Discourses. So essentially it's talking about the power of I am, and I am being like the name of God. And you don't have to be religious even to like that idea, or to understand that, or to adopt that way of thinking into your life. But literally anything that you follow I am with is what you are affirming. So I teach them that, and I talk to them about that, and I encourage them to be mindful of the things that they say. And I tell them, like, the things that you say is becoming truth. Like, what you believe is what becomes truth. So be very mindful about the things that you declare yourself to be, because that's setting that into motion in their world, in the universe. So we very much have those types of conversations, just me and the girls. I want to introduce that into their life. I learned that, early 20s. And I'm really grateful for those teachings. And the earlier I can instill that into my daughters, the better, I think, is to teach them that we live in a friendly universe, and that they are supported, and that they can create what it is that they want to create by using the power of their words and their belief systems to help them bring things into fruition. So I'm going to leave it at that. I hope that some of these things were helpful for you. If you want me to go deeper into any of these topics, feel free to send me an email or a DM. You can find me on Instagram at megan.schmidt.coaching, and I'd be happy to go deeper into any of these things or explain anything further. I am an open book. Any resources that I can help share with you, I'd be happy to. I definitely did a lot of parenting podcasts and parenting books when my girls were really little. I love, Is it Rebecca Enns, Eanes? I think she has a book that I read that was really helpful. I really liked Janet Lansbury. There were times, she has a podcast, so Janet Lansbury, um, very much rooted in like respectful parenting. There definitely were times where I kind of felt like, okay, but what if my child does this, right? So um, sometimes those things, the parenting books can be helpful, but I would say the biggest thing, especially if your children are really little, you're going through those toddler tantrum years or whatever, the more work that you do on yourself, the more personal growth, the more development that you do on yourself, the better you will be as a parent. The more that you can be proactive and control yourself and watch when you are reactive and learn from it, the better. And also building on that, the more self-care, and I'm talking about true self-care. So feeding yourself well, moving your body every single day, spending time in your own, like learning about your mindset and your growth and doing the things that really fill you up, the better. You will be a better mom the more that you take care of yourself. And nothing against if you like getting your nails done or whatever, but that's not really what I'm talking about when I'm saying self-care. Like I'm meaning the real self-care that is sometimes hard to do, but always pays you back tenfold. So taking time for yourself, especially in the morning, is, I think, a game changer as a parent. If your child is not sleeping well, you really want to capitalize on your sleep so that you can be more refreshed. Once Mila was around a year old and started sleeping for longer stretches, that's when I would wake up a little bit earlier than my girls and get some time for me in, because I felt like if I was getting up um, before them, I had a little bit of a leg up on the day. When you're waking up at the same time as your children, it feels more chaotic. So if you're getting a good night's sleep, then I would try that. And to do that, you'll need to get to bed earlier. So make sure that you're not spending time in the evening, staying up late, watching TV. And I don't ever really want to tell anybody what to do, but I used to do that. And I used to think I needed to do that because I felt so touched out during the day. I just felt maxed out with my kids being so close together and really like young and, all those things. And I thought like, I just need some time to myself. And so I would sit in front of the TV with this big bowl of popcorn and I would stay up way too late. And then I'd look at the clock and I'd kind of get panicky being like, I bet you Lincoln's going to wake up in like 2 hours and I haven't even gotten to bed yet. So if you can get to bed at a decent time, 10 o'clock or earlier, and then wake up, a little bit before your children, and you can spend that time not scrolling on your phone first thing in the morning, but like waking up and doing something that actually fills you up. So maybe that's reading something. Maybe it is doing some yoga in the morning or working out, or maybe it's packing your lunch or meditating or doing a hypnosis or journaling. There's so many different things that you can do that will actually fill you up. You will feel better and set the tone for your day, for your morning with your children as well. And so, yeah, going back to watching TV in the evening, like I felt like that was something I needed to do. But what actually would fill me up was the things that I suggested, right? The movement and journaling or reading personal growth books or whatever. Those things actually filled me up. And TV never did. It always feels like not enough, right? And the later you stay up, the higher your of chance that you're going to eat those processed, highly palatable foods, because you're going to have more time, right? You finish supper and now you're starting to get hungry again because you're still awake. So I eat supper and then I don't eat again until the morning. And this is something that I will also tell my children, that your body needs some time to digest. And if you eat right before bed, now your body has to digest and it can't do the healing work that it needs to do because it's spending all this time and energy digesting, and there's less time for the healing work. So same thing for you, right? The same things that we teach our kids and that we want for our kids to be healthy, we want that for us too. So if you can try not to eat right before bed, if you have supper and then let your body digest and go to bed at a decent time so you're not thinking that you need to eat, your body will do that healing work as it's supposed to at nighttime. So we'll end it there. I could go on and on. I love these types of topics. I hope that this was helpful for you. Thank you for listening. If you're listening to this on the podcast, just a reminder that I now have these podcast episodes on YouTube. If you want to watch the video, you can always find me there. I'll put the link in the show notes for you on the podcast. And wherever you are watching, just know that you can also find me on Instagram at megan.schmidt.coaching. And I'm active on there every single day, sharing mindset, health and wellness tips on stories and through posts. So make sure you follow me along there to stay up to date on those types of topics. So have a wonderful day. Thanks for listening, and we will chat soon.